with the growing need of the students to be industry ready, can you please highlight the USPs of the program in that respect?
Alright, so let me tell you how this program is getting devised, or how this program is getting updated, or how is this program getting audited. Now, we have a body which is called the Board of Studies, which is comprising of a lot of eminent people from the industry and a lot of senior faculties from across the industry and some of the faculties from our own organization. So we are going to call it the Board of Studies. Now, the Board of Studies meets every year, reviews whatever has been the comments of the students, reviews the comments of the industry, looks at the needs of the industry, looks at so many other things, and then every year the curriculum gets changed. So we have a structure. Let us say we have got 42 courses that we cover. Each of those 42 courses get reviewed, revised, updated. That happens on a yearly basis because so many courses we run in so many trimesters. So every year, so many trimesters get covered, and then we sit for the review, and this is going to be done extensively. Then once every 2 years to 3 years, the entire course structure gets being revised. So on one hand, we have the course structure being revised every 2 years, 3 years, and then every year, whatever has been revised gets further updated. And as a result, what happens? All of the latest things that we talk about would be there in our curriculum. Let's say, for example, currently we are facing the crisis of coronavirus. And then the businesses are going to meet these challenges. Many of the businesses have devised strategies to overcome this. Believe me, in the next BOS, there will be a course which will incorporate all the challenges that we have faced here, and then we are going to make it updated as to how to face the situations in terms of crisis. So this is how frequently we are going to do it. And the autonomy that we have, because we are a separate university, the autonomy we have because we are separate from anybody else's shackles, gives us this kind of a flexibility. Talk to the industry, talk to the alumni, to talk to our students, and then improve upon our courses.
Rightly said, sir. So, sir, being the chairperson of MBA Pathline, what is your philosophy of leadership? How would you describe your leadership style?
Okay, let me just tell you, many times people ask about leadership styles and, what is the kind of a leader. I can only tell you one thing. First of all, the leader has to be a role model. What is the meaning of a role model? Somebody would like to emulate. Nobody should fear a leader. People should actually end up respecting a leader. So you don't ask people to respect you. You live the path. You take lectures with them, you interact with the students, and that is how you get the respect. So for me, leadership is all about walking the path that we would want our students to actually follow in their lives. So just to give you a background about myself, I don't take any holidays, I don't take any leaves. At this point in time, I'm sitting in my office in NMIMS campus, and I'm always here for 7 days a week, always interacting with the students. I take a lot of lectures. I take the maximum number of lectures in the institute, and I've been getting consistent awards as the best faculty, but that is all in the past. What I'm only saying is every new batch comes in, I have a lot of lectures with them, I have a lot of interactions with them. I can understand what kind of handholding some of them would need, and this is what I do. So there is no such thing as a leadership skill, but if at all you feel genuinely for your students, you feel genuinely for them, then I'm sure that they'll also see the merit in what you're doing. Have I not made mistakes? I would have also made mistakes. Have the students not corrected me? The students also would have suggested and corrected me. But nowhere down the line is there any hurt feel or somebody has felt upset. Nothing of that kind. And currently I'm looking after the 3rd batch, and 2 batches have already passed under my chairpersonship. So I have no actually answer to your question, what is my style of leadership? My style of leadership is being honest, trying to understand the students' requirements, understand their dilemmas, and then come up with something that is a viable solution. Our dilemma can be that I am finding the exams difficult. Now here what can I do? I can only give them some more books, can only give them some more advice, but I cannot dilute my exams. So that is my
Truly said.
initial leadership style.
Truly said, sir. So, sir, how does the curriculum of MBA part-time ensure to develop managerial or leadership skill sets within the student?
I missed your question. Can you please repeat the question again?
Yeah, sure, sir. So, how does the curriculum of MBA part-time ensure to develop managerial or leadership skill sets within the student?
How is it going to be little different? Please understand, the MBA part-time curriculum is going to be more application oriented, because
Okay.
who comes to our MBA part-time program? These are the students who are coming from with work experience. See, normally what happens is, if you look at an MBA profile, the students are basically freshers. So they are not well aware about the industry. So they might have to study a lot of things to know something about the industry. But here, in terms of part-time, we have students who come directly from the industry, who are currently associated with the industry, and therefore they bring in a lot of wealth of experience to the classroom. And to build on that, all our courses are more of application orientation. So we might be talking about statistics, but statistics for industry applications. You might be talking about digital marketing. But when I talk about digital marketing, I don't have to do the basics of digital marketing, because students might have been already exposed. How do I build up cases? How do I bring in the interest? So this is how we look at our course content and curriculum. I hope that was the question that you were asking. And
Yeah.
whether there's some
No,
something
sir.
else, please tell.
No, sir. My question is correctly answered. So, sir, can you please share any insights into how your institute is more welcoming to students of different races and economic backgrounds?
Okay, so I can just tell you, first of all, we don't believe there are different backgrounds. We
Ah.
don't believe that there are people from different economic sections. We believe that everybody is one. There is nothing that we do separately for anyone. We do it for everybody involved. But I can just share with you sometimes what happens. Currently, I have a student who is from Israel. She is working in the Israeli embassy in India, in Mumbai, and she has a problem that her first and the last language is Hebrew. The medium of instruction in our place is English. She understands English, but she has to convert that into Hebrew and then think in Hebrew, make the answers, and then answer it in English. Now, when you have such difficulty when it comes to the exam, what do you do? So she made a request, can I please have a Hebrew to English translating something like a calculator translator. Now, this was a major decision for us in our organization, because we will not give this kind of a translator help, because we really don't know how do we stop the unfair practices. But in her case, it was very genuine, because she was finding it very difficult to cope up only because of the language barrier. So we took the chance, we went ahead and we took permission from the highest authority and gave her what she wanted. Now, these are certain things that we do beyond the call of our for maybe a few instances like this. But other than that, we believe that all the students are similar. We have no disparity whatsoever. And it's only about education that is being imparted. So everybody here speaks only about education being important. If somebody has got some genuine problem, sometimes we do come across, some family issues and all that. And then maybe in those times, we can little bit bend our rules here and there to just accommodate them. But that is only for exceptions, and no differentiation, no demarcation between students of any kind.
All right.
I can only say one more thing, that we strictly believe in vegetarian norms. So everybody here is, requested to be vegetarian. That's all I can say.
Okay. So, sir, what is your vision for MBA part-time? Like, how far it has evolved over time?
I'm not able to hear your voice. It's a little bit cracking. Can you just speak a little loudly?
Yeah, sir, am I audible now?
The first few words were audible, then that voice actually drops out.
Yeah. No problem. I'll repeat the question. Sir, what is your vision for MBA part-time? How far it has evolved?
I am not able to hear what you're saying.
Just a second, sir. Hello.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So, sir, my question is, what is your vision for MBA part-time? How far has it grown over time?
Okay. Let me tell you what is this concept of doing an MBA. It is not about just getting a certificate, because you can do anything and you can get a certificate. You can do an online course and get a certificate and be happy that you have got a certificate. The question is, what have we learned? Has this made a change in me from what I was before the course to what I am today after I've undergone the course? Now, if the answer to this question is a yes, then this is worthy of doing this course. So let us tell you that what we try and do is we ensure that the content, the delivery, the interactions, the learnings, the exchanges that we have, ensure that you are a much better person before, currently than you were before. So this is what has been our focus. And I feel that this is what should be the underlying thing in an MBA program. What are we trying to do? We are trying to help you run a business. Now, it could be a business in products, it could be a business in services, it could be your own organization, it could be something like a venture capital, whatever be the kind of business. We are going to equip you with the practical tools that will make you successful in running this business. So MBA is all about that. So I feel that whatever we are trying to do, whatever we are trying to enrich our programs with, is going to help the students actually come across some key learnings, and they can see the difference that is happening to them before and what is the difference that happened to them as they go along the process. And I have seen many of these things very regularly, that initially when they come, there is some little bit of lack of cohesiveness in their approach to studies. But as they go through the first trimester, second trimester, that everybody, let's say for example, attendance. Now the attendance might be little on the lower side in the first few lectures, in the first few weeks, in the first trimester. But as they go from trimester 1, 2, 3, 4, they insist that they come 100%. Now there cannot be any bigger satisfaction for a faculty than the student wanting to attend lectures 100%. There was one professor faculty here who is currently based in New Jersey. Because of this online mode, we were engaging sessions from him, but there was a 12-hour time zone. And then he had some problem and he said on Sunday, I will take a lecture from some particular slot. Some students couldn't come on that slot, particularly because being a Sunday evening, they had some commitments. So I told them, all right, you don't come, don't attend the lecture, let the lecture be conducted, we will give you attendance. So students said, sir, we don't want attendance, but we want to learn, we want to listen to the lecture, we want to be part of the lecture. And the learning is so great, it is not for attendance. And that is what gives me a lot of satisfaction. So we have to reschedule the lectures to a time which is convenient to the students as well as to the international faculty who is taking this lecture from USA. So this is what I feel we can really do to our students. That's part of our MBA program. And believe me, the dean who is responsible for this whole School of Business Management is really breathing down our neck. So he only keeps on asking me, he said, what are you doing for this course? Have the students got something which is not available elsewhere? Bring in the value in this course so that more and more people would be wanting to do this course rather than us asking them to do this course. So that is a clear directive from the big boss, that is the dean for the organization.
All right, sir. So, sir, what has been the significant contribution of alumni of your program in the last 5 years?
Wonderful. So, beautiful question. Let me tell you, you have a alumni after he passes out the course. But even within the course, the students who are here have been contributing phenomenally. We had, how should I say, a conclave on social responsibility, that is what we typically call CSR activities. And this was well attended by all our students. We only wanted them to attend and interact with two people who had done a wonderful work. One was this lady by name Rahibai Popere, who is known as the seed mother or the Bij Mata. And another person was Anandra Popat, who was here, and he did a lot of work in terms of one village in Maharashtra, and a lot of things were done, and so students had a chance to interact with them, talk to them, and believe me, all of the students were there, and it was such a great event for all of us to see how these people are interacted. So I'm just telling you, so these are some of the things that tell me that not only are the alumni going to contribute to the process, our existing students are going to contribute. We have the students already working and also continuing to work with some major organizations like the Tata Group, Mahindra and Mahindra, the Godrej, and you name the organization, we have our students there, and all of them are in touch with us. They continue to do well there, and we are happy at their growth.
Wow, so CSR is really a great initiative. So how is MBA part-time from NMIMS SBM different from other part-time programs in the country?
All right, so let me just tell you what makes us different. I'm sure you are aware that we have got an accreditation called AACSP accreditation.
Yes, sir.
Now, all over in India, there are only 8 MBA institutes who have been accredited like this. So we are amongst the top 8 institutes who have got this AACSP accreditation. I am Ahmedabad is one. I think I am Calcutta went for it. Then Manipal Institute, TACME has gone for it. SPDN in Mumbai has gone for it. So there are only 8 institutes. Now, what is this AACSB accreditation? It is a body which ensures that any student who joins this program or this university, there is an assurance of learning. So they have a long list of systems, long list of procedures, and just to cut it short, so we have done all of that, and we consistently are doing all of that. And therefore, I can tell you that what a student is going to learn in this course, he is not going to learn it in any other institute. Because let me tell you, we are the only AACSB accredited university institute offering the MBA part-time program in the contact mode. None of those 7 others have got something like an MBA part-time where they are going to do it in a contact mode. We are the only one. So when a student passes out from here, his certificate would have this AACSB logo, and this AACSB logo is like that ISO 9001 certification, useful across the globe. So that's how I can tell you we are much different. Then, as you know, our pedagogy, our faculty, the case method that we follow, the additional inputs that we give them from the industry fraternity, and so many things. So we do all of these things because we believe that the more good things we do, the more good thing the students are going to learn, and this is going to help us in the long run.
All right, sir. So, sir, my next question is, what impact will COVID-19 have on the corporate industry in the coming years?
Okay, whenever you talk about an impact, you can look at an impact in 2 phases. One is a short-term impact and other is a long-term impact. Now, this is something like a once-in-a-century kind of a phenomenon, and nobody has really been able to, come up with some kind of a strategy to face it. So there is going to be some effect in the short term. But if I just overcome the short term, I would say a setback, then there is not going to be any impact in the long term. People are going to buy clothes, people are going to watch movies, people are going to buy luxury items, people are going to buy bikes, motorcycles, and cars. All those things are going to happen. There's going to be a demand for accommodation. But what is going to happen is currently we are going to look at something like a temporary setback. So if I just overcome this temporary setback with my resilience, if I can overcome this temporary setback by making myself more value driven, making myself more learned person, how do I use this time now? We are working from home, so we have a lot of time on our hands. How effectively have I used this time to make myself a better person? Could be a solution for the short-term setback. But as I said, I don't see any long-term setback. another 6 months down the line, I'm sure COVID is going to be history. The minute you develop a vaccine, all of us are going to get vaccinated, and then this could be any other common cold kind of a disease, which will not have such a devastating effect like what it is currently we are facing. So I don't think much of an impact on a long-term basis. Short-term basis, yes, but it is our resilience, our strength, our inner abilities that will help us to overcome this short-term difficulties.
Yeah. Okay. So, sir, lastly, I would like to know that do you have any suggestions that you would like to give to the current youth and the aspiring students?
My suggestions are just the same that I just said. Please keep on enhancing your skills. Just like you have a bank passbook where you go and fill a credit side and you fill a debit side. Likewise, maintain a passbook and ensure that in this passbook, the learning is always on the credit side. And something unique in this passbook, when you have learned something, there is no debit. Only the more and more things you are going to learn is going to keep on adding to your credit. I was telling it to some of my students. I said, how have you used this work from home? Have you picked up any skills which you never had before the lockdown and you are now having that during the lockdown, after the lockdown? That must be the focus. Now, it could be anything. It could be a skill of cooking. So if I pick up the skill of cooking, I can be of help to my family in some future time. If I do the art of cleaning and cooking and all those things, so we can pick this up, little small skills, which I never had before. I'm having it now. I might be doing a lot of reading. I have a lot of time on my hands. So have I improved my learning quotient? Am I looking at those kind of Harvard Business Review magazines or any of those international publications, which give me a lot of insight into what is happening around the world? Supposing I ask you what is happening to Huawei. Now, how much knowledge you have about Huawei and what are the issues that it is going to face? If I was to ask you, how many countries does Amul supply? Now, Amul is an Indian homegrown brand. You might say Huawei is not from India, it is from China, so I don't know about it. That is fine. But Amul is our own brand. How much do you know about Amul? How much do you know about Mahindra and Mahindra? How much do you know about Tata Steel? Now, who stops you from getting all this information? I make it a practice that I'm going to enrich myself, I'm going to read something, I'm going to be motivated by a lot of things. So this is what I would say to the youth. Please don't read things in shorts. You have a lot of social media apps like your WhatsApp, Instagram. So every day keep yourself away for at least 1 hour from this WhatsApp. And the minute you are away from this WhatsApp for 1 hour, two things are going to happen. One, you will not be exposed to the WhatsApp rubbish. Second, this 1 hour, you are going to make it very fruitful by reading something, getting some knowledge, getting some skills, doing something which is that can be called constructive. So my advice, if you say, advice number 1, try to keep yourself away from social media. Try to keep yourself focused on your learnings and try and become a better person. One last thing I would like to say is that always be very cheerful. Problems will always be there in life. There is no end to the problems. It is only because of problems that, we are grounded. Otherwise, we would have also gone into the air, flying here and there. So let there be problems, but always face the problems smiling. So when you smile, half of the problem is solved. Don't get worked up. Don't get frustrated. Don't get cheesed off. Don't say something in anger. Just try and be happy and have a control over what you're doing in your life.
Totally agreed, sir. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for your time. It was such an enriching experience interacting with you.
Wish you all the very best and my good wishes and best wishes to you always. Stay safe wherever you are.
Thank you so much, sir.